Good morning. Welcome to the continuation of the Unit 12 notes. I'm pretty sure we covered these 2 points here. I apologize for the images. I'm not sure where they went. We're just going to have to do the best we can with what we have. So we talked about the ecological levels of organization. If we go back and we have an individual organism, which is one member of a species. Then we have a population, which is a group of organisms of the same species. Okay, one level up from that, still biotic, is the community. It's all the populations living in one place. So I believe it has like a reef picture, and there's a sea turtle, and there's coral, and there's fish, and there's sharks, and that's a community. Everything that is alive in that space. When we add in the abiotic components, we get an ecosystem. So it's community plus all of the abiotic things that help in that survivability, all the matter that is non living that contributes to that space. One level up from ecosystem, we have biome. That's the one that we're really more familiar with: desert, tropical rainforest, savanna, grassland like a prairie, deciduous forest. It's a group of ecosystems that have a particular climate, so they have a particular rainfall amount and a temperature, right? So a desert and a tundra, what do they have in common? So the desert and the tundra have low precipitation, but their temperatures are different, right? A tundra is a cold desert, basically. So those are biomes. And then all of the biomes collectively, where all things live on the planet, is called the biosphere. Okay? All right, so here's a picture of all the things from organism all the way to biosphere. It gives you a good idea. Okay, it wanted us to put these in order, right? So first would be organism. I'm sorry, I'm trying to see if I can draw. I cannot draw. That's a shame. So first is organism, right? And then a group of organisms is, okay, a population. And then a group of populations is, right, a community. A group of communities, not a group of communities. A community plus its abiotic components is an ecosystem. A group of ecosystems is a biome. And all the biomes together make up the biosphere. Okay. All right, community interactions. We talked about this briefly. Now you need to write it down. So competition is the most common one that we think of when we have two or more organisms. They could be the same species, they could be different species, but they are using or utilizing the same resource for survival. So they're competing, right? And it's survival of the fittest in that scenario. The competitive exclusion principle says that when there is a limited resource, okay, then two organisms are going to compete to the exclusion of one of those. What does exclusion mean, or what could it mean in this context? Okay, so it could mean death of one of the organisms or forced removal, right? Death or migration. That's competitive exclusion. They compete until one is excluded. Now we have interspecific versus intraspecific competition. Inter means between species, so two different species are competing for that resource. Intraspecific means inside the same species. Now predation, that one's easy. Make sure you understand that this is when one animal hunts another to eat it, right? It's different than a parasite. Its goal is to consume that organism for food. Symbiosis is different because it's a codependency of some sort, where there's a living together aspect that is happening. And then a keystone species in community interactions, that's a species that plays a super vital role in an ecosystem, where if it's removed, it could cause a chain reaction that basically leads to the death of multiple species in that space. For example, sea otters off the coast of the Pacific, off the coast of California, they have this kelp forest, okay, and the sea urchins eat the kelp, and the otters eat the sea urchins. Well, if the otters are dying, if their population is decreasing, which is what they're seeing, then the sea urchins are overpopulating and eating all the kelp, right? And then eventually the sea urchins are going to eat all the kelp, so the kelp will be gone, the otters are gone, and then the sea urchins will die for lack of food. That's an example of a keystone species. But symbiosis is different, and we'll talk about that on a following slide. So this is competition. If we look here, we can see these two, they look like stag beetles. They're fighting for mate. Okay, this is intraspecific between members of the same species. Okay, and then interspecific again is between members of different species, but this is between the same species. And so they're fighting for a mate and territory. Okay, there are some species like this. I don't know if this is the specific one, but they fight on different limbs on the tree, and it's like the female is higher up the tree, and they like throw each other off. And the one that gets to the top of the tree earns the right to mate. Okay, so I just gave you an example of competition. Why don't you give me one here? All right, so here's an example graph for the competitive exclusion principle. You can see what happens when the P. caudatum, it's a fungus, I think, or bacteria, when it grows in the petri dish by itself, it has a pretty stable, limited carrying capacity that it reaches. It's the dashed line. When it is with the other P. aurelia, it bottoms out. So it loses the competition. It was excluded. Okay, no two species can occupy the same exact niche or niche at the same time in the same habitat. And so somebody's going to win and somebody's going to lose. P. aurelia is the winner in this petri dish. Okay, dividing resources. So what that means is niches can be very specific, right? You see these 3 different species of warbler, and they have different parts of the same spruce tree, and they can live harmoniously together because they are separated from each other. Okay, now predator versus prey relationships. This is one predator-prey cycle. If you look, what happens? The prey number should be much greater than the predator because the predator has to eat several prey individuals to survive. The prey number goes up, then lagging behind it, the predator number goes up. When the predator number goes up, the prey species dips. And so the predator species population dips following that. And so they follow each other in this cycle. Okay, give me an example of predation that is not the picture. Okay, symbiosis. This is when 2 species live together. It's not always a good thing. We talked about this on Monday. So mutualism is when 2 species are benefiting from that relationship. And so if you look at this clownfish and the sea anemone, right, the clownfish gets protection because the sea anemone is not good for other species, but the clownfish can live there, so it can be protected. And then it gets like leftover food and stuff from the clownfish, and so they both benefit from this interaction. Commensalism, this one is the hardest one for people to remember. I didn't say communism, I said commensalism. This is when one species benefits and the other is unaffected. And so this is a whale with barnacles on it. These barnacles are not getting anything from the whale, they're traveling. They're filter feeders. And so when the whale swims through the water, they get to get the food and grab the food as it comes by. It doesn't hurt the whale. Now, having too many on could possibly, slow it down in the water, but they're not taking any resources from the whale. So it's called commensalism. And this icky little leech here is a parasite. So that's harming the host. It's not killing or consuming the host, it is harming the host by taking resources from it. Okay. Lichens. We don't really talk about succession or levels of primary and secondary succession right now, but lichens are this fundamental first species, but they aren't a species. They're mutualism. Two organisms, usually an algae that can do photosynthesis and a fungus that can put roots in, and they can put roots into stone and actually dissolve rock and eventually make soil out of that rock, which is kind of awesome. And so the algae is providing the food, right? And then the fungus is providing like an attachment site. And so that together makes up a lichen, which is a staple in the starting of a new community in an ecosystem. Okay, what type of symbiosis is this? Okay, this is a tick, so clearly that's a parasitic relationship. This guy is eating the food, the leftovers. So he is commensalism, good. This one right here, these birds are eating the parasites off of the gazelle. Okay, so this is mutualism. They both benefit. That's a barnacle, which is commensalism. We discussed that. Okay, we did keystone species. You don't have to redefine that. I think we're going to talk about these and then we'll be done. I showed you this one with the kelp. And then prairie dogs. So killing off these prairie dogs on the right caused this black-footed ferret to become extinct. Well, ferrets eat prairie dogs. So you got rid of its food, it didn't have anything to eat, and it didn't survive. Okay, we're going to stop there. Have a great day.